So a couple weeks ago, I was reading an article about Annie Duke. She's a highly successful poker player who's earned over $4 million in lifetime earnings. I'm not advocating gambling by any means, but she said something when she was describing how she goes about making decisions during the course of a poker game that really interested me. And I want to read what she said to you because it struck me that it has implications far beyond just the game of poker. She said, say I have a fair coin. I can tell you exactly what the probability of heads or tails on the next flip is, but I can't tell you what the next flip will be. That's what accepting outcomes is like, accepting that you don't know if the coin will land heads or tails on the next flip. In life, it's usually even more complicated because in most real decisions, we haven't examined the coin. We don't know if it's a fair coin, if it has two sides with a heads and a tails on it and is weighted properly. And here's the key part. She says, that's the hidden information problem. We can't see everything. We haven't experienced everything. We know the facts that we know, but there may be facts that we don't know. Isn't that what it's like with God? Now, don't get me wrong, if you look at Romans 1:20 says, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. So God has given us enough information to justify having faith in him. The example I give sometimes is when my son was younger, he used to stand on the stairs, and there's one I might have my back turned to him, and all of a sudden I just hear, Daddy! And I turn around, and he's already mid-air, jumping towards me, having faith that I'm going to catch him. Now, that's not completely blind faith, because he's jumped off those stairs a million times in the past, and I've always caught him. So he has enough information to justify in his mind taking that leap. But he can't know with 100% certainty I'm going to catch him, because every single time it's different, obviously. So God's kind of like that. He's given us enough information so to justify having faith in him. But there's not enough information, and we're not capable of fully comprehending every single thing about God. So we can't have absolute information, so to speak. We finite beings can't know everything there is to know about an infinite being such as God. And if you look at the book of Job, for example, Job has a whole lot of bad stuff. At the beginning of the book, he's got everything going for him, right? And then by the end of the book, or as the book progresses, a lot of bad things start happening to him. And at the end, he kind of confronts God, and he wants to know a reason. He wants to know why all of these bad things have happened to him. And if you look at chapter 38 of Job, that's kind of where God really starts answering him. And I can't read the whole thing, but I'd encourage you to go back and read chapter 38 of Job to really get a look at God's full answer. But basically what God is saying to him is, Job, you don't know everything. You're a human being, I'm God, you're demanding answers from me about all the decisions that I make, answers that you can't possibly necessarily comprehend all the reasons behind them. I mean, for example, just starting at the beginning of the chapter, it says, then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. It goes on from there, and the point is, Job, you speak of things you do not know. There are going to be certain things that we have to understand and accept that we're never going to fully comprehend about God. And the immediate application I want to make for this, there's a lot of people out there that will say and question whether a good, loving God can exist when there's all the suffering and the pain and everything that we see in the world. And there's a lot of answers that go into that, more than we could ever get into in a short devotion like this. But one thing we need to understand is that there are things that we just won't be able to comprehend. And we get that in other contexts. If, my son, who's 10 years old right now, was about to run out into traffic, and he does not see the cars coming because he's not looking or whatever, I have superior information to him when I see the traffic coming, and I grab him by the arm and I pull him back to safety. Now, when I pull him back to safety, that might cause him some pain. I mean, that might hurt his shoulder a little bit as he gets jerked back onto the curb. So we fully understand that there are some circumstances where the parent might have superior information to a child, and a child may look at something, a shot, an injection, so to speak, that may cause them some pain, and they may only see the pain. But the parent, with a broader view, sees that there is more of a justified reason for it that the child just can't understand. And when we're dealing with pain and suffering and things going wrong in our lives, That's part of the answer. It's not, I'm not going to say it's a complete answer, but part of the answer is there may just be things that we don't understand. But never forget that God has given us enough information, even if he hasn't told us why we're going through something, why we're suffering. He has given us enough information to know that he does know the answer to that question, and he is someone who can be trusted. God bless.